Good morning, everybody. So we thought that the rain would keep people away, but we're glad it didn't. And we're so excited to be here for our October Coffee with the Mayor. And my guest this morning is Bruce McGregor, Director of Public Works. And I see that his fan club came on the right and on the left, from neighbors to people he's helped. And we also have some new participants this morning. So as always, when we introduce ourselves, I have a related question for you to share. And my question this morning is, share one thing you know about Public Works, because they have a wide depth and breadth of their work. And I'm going to let you start today.
Morning. I'm Vaughn Morrill, 580 Dealman. And one thing I know about Public Works is if something on one of our residential houses falls out of compliance, we get a notice about it, and then we have to correct it, which is actually a good thing, because it keeps the city in good shape.
Good morning. Let's see. Sewers.
And I know Bruce solved a problem for us in front of our house that needed to be solved. So we thank you.
My name is David. I've had a driveway problem for the last 15 years. It seems like the county wants to tax me on my driveway. I've fought it a couple of times, but I've lost. So I'll keep fighting and see what happens.
Have anything, Larry Koenig?
Hi, Leslie Ricard. I was interrupted. So what was the question that we're supposed to? Oh, Public Works? Oh, what people have been saying about sewers, water runoff, things like that. So, yep.
Jim Person. I'm shocked no one has said anything about snow removal. And I will say that all the Bruce has helped with everything else except for the citations, and I think those come out of planning. So
Carolyn Krell, and if you need somebody with a perfect Rolodex of repair sources, he's your man.
Harry Krell, we had a nightmare with a circle problem on Marbrook, and the trucks couldn't get around it. And Sherilyn went, talked to Bruce, and they made the circle smaller. So now all the trucks can get around our circle. So we appreciate Bruce very much.
Thank you. Not many of you know that Public Works does mapping. And so I appreciate Bruce's mapping knowledge and his GIS skills. Nameless, no. I'm Dawn Doty, and I am a senior planner for the city of Olivet.
Hi, I'm Bridget Waters. I'm the deputy city clerk. I just like Bruce all around. He's very helpful with everything that he does.
My name is Tanya Welch. I'm the accountant here. What I know about Public Works and Bruce, I'll keep it sweet. But no, I'm gonna go with road repairs. I believe they handle the road repairs that we need out in the city.
I'm Denise Mandel, and I'm the HR administrator. And I don't, as far as what they do, I know, but what I really think is cool is they have a lot of really cool big trucks.
Jerry Newell. I'm here to support my neighbor. He has one rule for his office, and that is to call me at the office. Don't talk to me on the street. So, but when I need him, he takes care of what needs to be done.
Hi, I'm Faye, and I am here with the Oliver Apartments. So we are brand new to Olivet. I don't know too much about Bruce, but hopefully we will develop a relationship. Really, besides what was mentioned, I don't know too much about everything that Public Works does.
Morning, my name is Orlando. I'm the maintenance manager over there at the Oliver Apartments. When I think of Public Works, I think of community issues and solutions.
Good morning, I'm Kathy Koenig and Bruce's next door neighbor. So we came to support him and pretty much everything that people have talked about, roads, snow, repairs. And Jerry, you were right, don't bother him with it on the street. It's been fun watching your kids grow up.
Tom Koenig, also neighbor of Bruce. I think of Public Works when the wind blows, and I'm glad that they made sure I anchored my shed adequately. So that's that. Also want to learn about the road maintenance in the subdivisions and all of that, but that'll come in time, I'm sure. Have a great day.
Hey, Beth Andreski, Chief of Police for the Olivet Police Department. And I know that Public Works' favorite thing to do is to store police equipment for us, I think. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I'm David Barry, Major Deputy Chief of Police as of yesterday, so second day on the job. Thank you. And one thing about Bruce, whenever I need something internal done, he's good at taking any care of any of our needs, getting sticks, build signs, no parking signs, get me the stuff I need, and just anything, he always comes through whatever he's asked of.
So there's a little bit more about Bruce that we don't know. And I think this was great because this gauges some of the things that I took till we got to Jim Persons this morning to find out that nobody mentioned snow. So Bruce grew up in upstate New York in a small town called a dairy farming town community of 2,100 residents located 16 miles from the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown. His graduating class had 34 students, and his school was one building covered kindergarten through 12th grade. He attended St. Lawrence University for 3 years in Canton, New York, which is located 20 miles south of the Canadian border, earning a bachelor's of science in physics. He attended Washington University in St. Louis for 3 years and earned a bachelor's and master's in civil engineering. In 1996, he moved to Olivet and has lived here ever since. He joined Olivet in January of 2009 and as the Public Works Administrator. And Bruce and his wife Veronica have been married for 25 years. I think you became the director around 18. Yeah, it's been, about 5 years in, I think. And the one thing.
Like 15.
2015, okay. So he, when I was talking about his wife is Veronica, and he notated to Kiana that he's been married for 25 years. She's a native to Peru, South America, and has incredible patience. He is the father of 2 boys, Alex and Sebastian, who both are majoring in economics. And they've both, I think, done some work for Olivet at some point in their in their childhood or youth years. So he's put them to work sometimes. So Bruce, I'm just so glad you are taking the time to join us this morning. So thank you. So this is going to be more of an informal conversation today and not a big PowerPoint, but it's also going to be so that we can interact with all of you. So one of my first questions for Bruce is exactly what is Public Works?
Trying not to overdo the microphone here. So according to the American Public Works Association, Public Works is the combination of physical assets, management practices, policies, and personnel necessary for government to provide and sustain structures and services essential to the welfare and acceptable quality of life for its citizens. So in layman terms, so it varies a lot by municipality or agency. So in some municipalities or cities, Public Works encompasses planning and community development, Parks Department, water, electric, and other utilities. As you get a little bit smaller, it becomes less efficient for a Public Works agency in the city of Olivet to have our own utilities and so on. So, here in Olivet, our predominant responsibility is really roadways. That's our biggest one, managing tree inventories, coordinating with our local utilities, Missouri American, Charter, AT&T, all the other players in the right of way. And then working with our internal staff and city operations, fleet management. We have our fuel system and mechanic down at the Public Works building. And then we do not all, but a significant part of municipal property maintenance around town and work with Parks Department quite a bit. And one of our bigger things that Tom asked about is, how we manage our inventory of roadways. And that's a whole nother segue if we want to get into that and talk about rating systems and how we classify what the status is of our roadways.
I know that when we talk about Public Works, that there's a lot of acronyms that are used. And, when I came on, even with City Council, I knew some of them and I've learned a lot more. But can you tell us some of the acronyms and what they stand for? Like, for example, like the NID.
Sure. Like anything, everybody tries to trim things down and come up with another acronym, especially when you get into work with like MoDOT or the bigger transportation players. You have to have a glossary at the end of every document. So a NID is a neighborhood improvement district. And that is a facility by which agencies or municipalities can work with private subdivisions to facilitate repairs of their quasi-public infrastructure, right? If they have local roadways. There's a number of ways that can be implemented, but that was set up by state statute that allowed municipalities or agencies to act on a private subdivision's behalf. Another one is we just started a project with Missouri American Water this week doing an MRP, which is a main replacement project. So there are bunches of these around. And if anybody ever had a question about what the acronyms are, I'm glad to help out.
Might need a cheat sheet on our website. What's your favorite part of the position?
So it is nice living in town, albeit sometimes I do get approached on a walk with my wife. And you try to, casually suggest that maybe after work or Saturday afternoon isn't the time to get into too many details about the work we're performing. But it is nice being able to walk around town. And sometimes I appreciate her patience listening to me talk about sidewalks or utilities or something all day long and projects going on. I really do enjoy helping people in the community, and it's nice, especially with our internal programs like the sewer lateral program, where I get to say yes a lot and really help residents in a time of need when when they just are going into uncharted waters. Not many people think about their sewer laterals or ever want to, for that matter, and really don't know which direction to go. And probably the third part that I really like is we have a really good internal city staff, and it's a good cohesive unit. And it's one of those things where I enjoy going to staff meetings and working with people in other departments and talking to colleagues around. I know they don't always have that relationship. So I really appreciate the team that's been built here and put together. So that's and that goes back to our city manager, who's really put the group together with a good recipe and a pretty favorable outcome, I think.
So that was kind of a perfect segue into the sewer lateral program, because last night at our city council meeting, we voted to continue the program, but to make some changes in the program. So I'm going to have Bruce just talk for a few minutes about some of the new changes in the sewer lateral program, so that people that are here or that are watching later will know some of their options.
So like I said earlier, the sewer lateral program is a really great opportunity for us to help residents. It's funded by you. It's your money that's paid in, and I'm basically just a fiduciary of the program and the parameters set forward by the council. But one of the biggest challenges was that we had residents that were financially challenged who were unable to follow the program guidelines to pay for the project up front. And then if the timing wasn't right, they would have to wait, it could be up to 4 weeks to get their 80% reimbursement back. And the program was funded, they did their part and paid in, we had the balance, ready to go, but there wasn't really a facility within the guidelines to help that resident out to get them the money faster or come up with another alternative. So when we looked at it and said, well, how do we qualify a resident who's in financial need? Do I ask for tax records? Are they on WIC? Is there some sort of additional qualifier that we would ask for? And we said, well, that really gets kind of hard. And then, how do you really qualify that somebody is on the fixed income, all these things so that we can do better with the program? And our city manager came up with the idea and said, well, why don't we just flip this around for everybody? And instead of doing a reimbursement, the program will reimburse up to the limit of $3,500. Well, instead of reimbursement, they'll pay the contractor directly for that amount. So now if you come in for a program repair, we would do that payment directly so that you don't have to front the money and wait the time for reimbursement. So previously we had a 80% reimbursement. So if the total project cost was $4,000, you had $3,200 coming back to you. Inclusive in that $4,000 was up to $250 for the video inspection to determine the nature of the defect in the lateral. We're no longer reimbursing or front loading on the $250. It is purely for the first $3,500 of the approved repair. Okay. Anybody has a question on that? I can maybe re-explain it in a different way. Yes. Right. So we've also redone the criteria. When the program was first written, they started trying to enumerate every possible defect that you could have for a lateral. And it just sort of became this really long list to be included in the ordinance. So we reworded that to basically say something that inhibits the functionality of a lateral or doesn't meet current public health or plumbing code requirements. Okay. For instance, a lot of our houses of the original construction in Olivet didn't have an outside yard access. And in most cases, that was a trap type yard access. Well, modern code requires an outside yard access. So if your house or your property doesn't have that, that's an automatic program repair to have one installed because it doesn't meet current plumbing requirements, current code requirements. And then there are a number of other defects that come up. But you're right, we don't just replace the lateral just because it's old. In some cases, vitrified pipe, it's been around for hundreds of years, right? This is really old technology, fired clay, right? And there's really no reason for repair, but we're looking at defects that just inhibit the ability to get the effluent out to the MSD main where it belongs. Yes. Well, so up until about 5 or 6 years ago, as part of the home inspection process, laterals weren't being inspected. And now they are. That's sort of like a standard operating procedure on a house inspection. So if there is a qualifying, deficiency in the lateral, absolutely. And what I always recommend, and I talk to agents and everybody, do that inspection at the beginning, because a program repair can take 4, 6, 8 weeks, depending on contractor availability, weather, et cetera. So what happens is if the closing scheduled in 30 days, then you have to put money in escrow, and it just tends to be more complicated for the transaction. Doesn't really mean anything to me, but it's more complicated for the transaction. So I just recommend at the onset of the project, have the lateral inspected. And in fact, if you haven't had your lateral inspected in the past 10 years, it's a good investment. The analogy I use is gutters tell you when they're clogged, right? Because when it's raining, you're watching the water flow over your kitchen window. But your lateral doesn't until you have a house full of guests. And it's New Year's Day or Thanksgiving or whatever. And then you have, effluent backing up into the basement. And I've had residents come in with $1,000 or $1,200 bill from having to have somebody come out for emergency services on Thanksgiving. So it's really good practice when scheduled, on a nice day in June or October. It's only a couple $100 to get this done. And it gives you a good status, of your lateral. And, people contact me about the program, and I do, just evaluations or give, everybody opinions on the state of their lateral. So that's just sort of a benefit of the program to residents. If you don't know what you're looking at, just give me a call and we'll go through it together.
I think that was really helpful for a lot of people. The other question, since snow was brought up earlier, and we have, the Oliver who's now here, and people who live on, Old Bottom and Price and places that have sidewalks. One of the questions that comes up a lot is with snow removal and overhanging of leaves or trees over the sidewalk. What are some of those guidelines? And does that fall under you, or that falls under the building codes?
Right. So I manage the public right away. Okay. And that is it's from property line to property line. But if you aren't aware, your property line isn't at the curb. It's anywhere between 1 foot and 10 foot behind the curb or sidewalk, depending on how the subdivision was platted. So when we look at a right of way, and I go back to my list, it could be 40 feet, it could be 50 feet, it could be 60 feet, depending on how the original subdivision was platted out. And the reason the right of way extends beyond the pavement is for public improvements and like a sidewalk or a utility, because you need to have natural gas, communications, electric, sewers, and you really don't want to have those under the roadway whenever possible. So on one side of the road will be the gas main, the opposite side of the road will be the water main, and then somewhere along the way, there'll be sewers. Sanitary sewers are generally in the street or in the front, but they can be located in rear yards, side yards, and basically because everything in all of it is a gravity flow, it has to follow topography. And that's why you see mains going between houses and in backyards and so on. So anything that grows or encroaches the public right of way off of private property is the responsibility of the property owner. So if you have trees or shrubs that overhang the sidewalk or encroach the sidewalk or inhibit the site distance triangle, the property owner is required to maintain those. And that is handled through the building department, planning and community development. We have community inspectors that go out and we'll talk to homeowners, explain it. We've done newsletter articles in the past. I have a guide that we've sent out numerous times about what is the public right of way and what are resident responsibilities. Adjacent property owners are required for basic maintenance of the right of way in front of their house. And that includes mowing the lawn up to the curb. Most people just sort of do that and they don't even realize it, but they're mowing mowing property that isn't theirs. Similarly, in Olivet, our ordinance requires clearing of the sidewalks. Each property owner is responsible for the adjacent sidewalk at their house. We limit planting in the right of way. So on occasion, somebody will call and say, well, we want to plant something in the right of way. And we really don't want to see the wrong tree in the wrong place, which is why we oversee what is planted. We are dealing with beautiful legacy trees in Oak Estates right now that were the wrong tree in the wrong place. So you don't want a tree that's going to grow 80 or 90 or 100 feet tall and what we call diameter breast height, which is just above the trunk, being 40 inches or larger, because that's right on top of a water main, a gas main, or a sewer. And when you have to do work there, you're damaging the tree root system and everything else. So we really want to manage and control what goes in the public right away. And just so I have my staff here, or a bit of our staff in the back. So just while we're here, I'm going to pass the microphone to them so that they can say hello and their name, and while everybody's here, what their favorite part of their boss is and how well he treats them. But no pressure, guys.
Want me to move to the camera? I'll just. Oh, donuts. I missed those. Yeah. Right. Let me go back there, raise it up. Hold on, let's see what, can you point up? Public Works is a lot. Let me go sit outside the window. Yeah, I wouldn't want the camera on me either.
All right, good. Just leave the camera where it is.
All that for, hey, I'm Walt. I've been with the city for 27 years. I'm a supervisor out on the streets. I look for the work, I set up the work and get the work done. The only thing I ever have to say to the residents is if you have a problem or you see a problem, let us know. Sometimes we get calls about a problem. We get out there, it's like, wow, how did you let it go this long? You know, we try to find what we can, best we can in a timely manner, but we can't cover everything all the time. So input from residents is very helpful. And like I said, the sooner we can get to the problem, the sooner we can get it taken care of and prevent it from getting any worse.
Hello, my name is Harold Cersei, been with Olivet for like 3 years now. Like the job, best job I ever had so far. I don't have no complaints. Yeah, I like Bruce.
Hi, I'm Bill Hunn. I've been with the city for 16 years and I really enjoy the job and we try to do the best we can. And I really like Bruce. Just Public Works, maintenance worker.
So there's a few employees of Public Works that aren't able to be here today. So I'm going to let Bruce tell you about the other positions for a moment.
So for the actual public works side, we have 4 field level employees. Walt, Bill, Harold, and Travis, who's off today. And then the city mechanic, Mike Jackson, is down at Public Works, deep in work on a police car. So he's not able to come up today, and he's here 27 years. You and Walt started a couple months apart. So yeah, we've been really fortunate here in Olivet that we have a staff with a lot of experience who's been really happy with the community, I think, and working here. A lot of other departments are having high turnover. And you just don't get this kind of experience. It takes years to learn the ins and outs. And Walt brought up a really good point is for our street inventory of city-owned streets, we manage 48 lane miles of road. So if you hopped on I-170 and drove out to Warrenton, that would be one lane all the way there. That's what we manage. And so we don't get on every street. There are streets we don't go on for months at a time. So without calling in or letting me know there's a problem, we just wouldn't see it until maybe it was time for snow operations or something like that. So we do appreciate public input and, you know, and getting us information and then, you know, like we'll address it as quickly as we can.
I know when it comes to potholes, sometimes people, because that's one of the things I get stopped for when I'm walking with my spouse. But when you get the potholes, sometimes they do a temporary fix because it depends on where we are in the season. Okay. And but even to report some potholes, because sometimes, like Bruce said, they're not always on every street. But the other key word is patience, because you know, it's a long ways. I've never heard the analogy to Warren, but to Warrington, but that's okay. Okay.
So that comes up to 68.8 million miles. What we're responsible. So we have our four staff members in public works, and then public works department. They do the safety park, Villa Park, and then when we need additional assistance, they come in and help. City mechanic helps. I probably make things worse when I'm out there moving the trucks, but. Yeah, but it's interesting. You know, the guys do a great job. We really appreciate everything that they do for us. And if you didn't know this, they actually spend the nights at the Public Works building. So what we'll do is we'll sort of make a mobilization plan and determine when the best time to come in is. But while we might not be having a winter event here, maybe it's coming up the I-44 corridor where somebody lives, or maybe it's coming up out of the Northeast where Walt lives. So what I try to do is get the guys here in advance of the storm so they can decompress a little bit. There's nothing worse than driving in white knuckled, right? And you're already tired from an hour on the road. So we try to bring them in advance, and then they're ready to go out on the road, because, you know, operating a truck during a snowstorm there's a lot going on. You're watching your plow, you're watching the spreader, all the controls, and then you've got to watch traffic. And then the person out walking their dog at 3 a.m., bent over in the snow, picking up, or, you know, and all of a sudden these bodies pop out at you, and it is kind of nerve wracking. So we really want the guys to be rested and ready to go, so we don't have an issue. So that's another thing we'll publish in a few months. If you are a winter enthusiast, wear a reflective jacket, bring a flashlight, do something to make yourself visible so we don't have an issue at night when we're plowing. And it might not be just being hit by a truck. The windrow coming off of a plow when you're driving, it can be pretty powerful. So, you know, especially in a spring plow, you know, when it's wet and heavy slush, it can knock you right on your seat. So, you know, we really need you to help us by being visible. So. Anything else you can think of, guys?
No removal that you all do. Don't some of the parks maintenance help with that as well?
Yes.
Mhm.
And when we need additional staff on the roadways, we typically run 4 trucks, but we can put out 5 or more as necessary, including a skid steer that we'll use here to do the lot with a snow box in front. Does anyone want to guess what one of the longest or one of the most time-consuming parts of snow removal is? Cul-de-sacs. I think we have about 80, I think, cul-de-sacs in town. And so I'll think about all of our terminal streets. Most of our terminal streets have some sort of a cul-de-sac. Now, Marbrook has an island in the middle, so we don't have to plow that out. but some of our biggest cul-de-sacs are 70, 80 feet across. So you have to go, you've got a 10 or a 12-foot plow blade. So you have to back up and plow and back up and plow and back up and plow to get the whole cul-de-sac cleared. So that is more time consuming than plowing the whole street because we go in and out with a whole loop. And then on top of it, when you're clearing the full cul-de-sac, you got to dump a lot of salt. It's very wasteful when we do those applications in tight radius because of engine RPMs and an overlap with the spreaders. So we don't typically do those unless we know we're going to have a long duration event and we need to get things cleaned up so we don't get sheets of ice forming. But it is very time consuming to go back and do all the cul-de-sacs. Yes, Jim. So one of the biggest things, we get complaints about is I just shoveled my driveway and you came back and left a big windrow of snow in front of my driveway. We do have a graphic that goes out about the best method to shovel your driveway and how to leave an area on the incoming side of your driveway so that the blade of the plow will deposit and empty the snow there. Because you got to remember, when we're pushing snow, the blade's always full and we keep rolling more in. So if your driveway's clear in front, we shouldn't pick up anymore. But the problem is what's already accumulated on the blade. So we have a graphic we push out. It's not perfect, but it helps quite a bit that we're able to empty out. Additionally, keep your cars off the street. That's a big problem, especially on narrow streets. So people park on both sides and we have a truck with a 12-foot plow in the front and you're trying to fish, make your way through, our position is we'll just turn around and leave because it's not worth getting into an accident. And then we take a truck out of service while we're trying to figure out what's going on. There are some streets we won't plow because it's too much of a risk to put our equipment on there. There isn't enough room. There isn't space to turn around. And we don't want to take out a truck out of service when we're trying to treat the whole community. So that, those are the big points is, really keeping the vehicles off the street. If you have a service that plows, please don't have them just push all the snow back into the street. Do what they can to accumulate it somewhere. We go around and we see this a lot where a contractor will come in, they'll plow out the snow and they just push it out in the roadway and leave a big mess for us to have to come back. And in those cases, because of the placement of snow, we very often end up pushing it right back in front of the driveway. So it really doesn't, do any good for anybody. Got any other big ones? Put out a notice in the fall. Again, we have a winter operations sort of public notice that goes out PDF form. We have a mailbox replacement policy. If in most cases, we don't hit mailboxes, but what happens is the accumulated snow gets pushed off into the side. And if a mailbox is already weak, that pushing of snow, just like an iceberg, can knock over a mailbox. But yeah, there's an ordinance about parking. You need a special parking permit if you want to have your car out on the street because of lack of on-site driveway space. And we put signs up and basically it's anytime there is a risk of ice accumulation or snow, we have a lot of ice events here. So we're out trying to get out in advance of those to do treatments. But sometimes we're finishing up a route and it's already freezing rain. And what we don't want to do is slide right and then take out a vehicle that was parked incorrectly. It's not a lot of fun when you're in a big truck and you just feel yourself sliding down the road on black ice. Yes. Well, I think the people behind you can tell you all about the snow tags because that's handled through the police department.
Yeah. I gotta figure out where to. Okay. Yes. So Bruce brought up a good point about the parking in the streets. It's a really big problem for Public Works. It's also a really big problem for Police Department. So I would definitely encourage you all and encourage your neighbors to not park in the street as much as possible when there's snow. Because also they're trying to get plows through, but also we're trying to patrol streets and look for any hazards, things going on in the community during a snowstorm. And it makes it very dangerous too for our officers to try and squeeze down an icy street when you've got cars parked all over the place. It just increases the likelihood of one of us getting into an accident too. Which again, takes the police officer, another car out of service. It's a whole trickle down effect. We do have, our department will write snow tickets for vehicles who do not have the snow permit tag in their car. One thing though that we do get a lot of calls about that is a little bit of a misunderstanding though, it's just a ticket. So just because we come out there and ticket a vehicle because it's parked in the street, that's car's still there. The car is still there causing a problem. Basically, they're just gonna have to come into court at some point in time and deal with the ticket. So it is something that we do, but also like the Public Works, if there are streets that are too icy or dangerous, they're probably not going to get patrolled right away unless we have a call on that street. So if you do really need to park your car in the street, please call the city and get a tag. And then at least if nothing else, we will not ticket you. So yeah, not much else to that. Yeah. Thank you.
Are there any other questions about the snow removal? So since we have representatives from the Oliver, I would like to point out that Olive Boulevard is owned by MoDOT, not by Olivet. So they plow their own street. And but your side street that goes across the front door, that is an Olivet. We do plow that. Right. So that's a big question. People call and say, why isn't Olive been done, but the side streets have? And that's one of the questions, is because that's not ours. Are there any other questions regarding snow? Okay, and Bruce, I have one last question for you. And what is the best kept secret of Public Works? What do people not know that you like? Is a project that a passion project or something that you do that people don't know about it?
On occasion, we have a really good staff barbecue. Yeah. I don't think we have a secret. One of the nice things about Olivet for our staff, you were working for our guys, if you were working for a big agency, you would be on the pothole crew, the concrete crew, the curb crew, the ditch crew, and that's all you would do, right? So our staff, they get asked to do everything from, helping out with electrical repairs in one of the parks to we do tree maintenance, so we're out there, cutting down trees and limbs and working with that. We do the facility repairs. So we're up here troubleshooting or putting up a poster board or something for another staff member in an office. So it's always something different that you get to do every day. And sometimes it can be a little overwhelming because you have to change gears so many times, especially in my position. I'm doing work with MSD one day, then I'm doing work with other utilities, then I'm doing pavement preservation, then I'm on GIS. And then I have Tanya from the finance department, like sending me all these emails with invoices that need to be processed and budgets and credit card receipts, and something didn't reconcile. And I mean, it's like the financial responsibilities are all over the place. But it is a lot, but we manage the grants, we work with MoDOT, federal projects, Dealman Road. So you brought up a really good point about jurisdictions of roads in Olivet. So in addition to jurisdictions, we have functional classification of roadways. So we have interstate I-170, we'll have an arterial Olive, and then we'll have collectors, and then we'll have local roads. Collectors, arterials, and highways are available for federal grants. We don't have any of those, but we have collectors. So Old Bonham Road, Dealman Road, and Price Road are all urban collectors and qualify for grants. So we've done Old Bonham Road. That was a federal grant project through FHWA administered by East West Gateway and MoDOT. Dealman Road, we completed in 2 segments, make it a little more manageable. That was another one, an STP, Surface Transportation Program grant. And this year, we will most likely apply for part of Price Road for another transportation grant. They are extremely detailed. Okay, and you have a lot of steps to go through. You need authorizations and you know, you can't, it's very, very strictly managed. So it'll be quite a process for us to go through. We want to improve our pedestrian facilities. So that'll include sidewalk improvements, which will mean we need, you know, additional right of way. As I talked about earlier, we have different widths. Price Road is a 40-foot wide, just like Old Bonham was. So that's not a lot of room when you consider a 26 or 28-foot pavement width and then sidewalks on both sides. So we will likely need right of way for that, which is going to need more time during the process. Additionally, we're asking for a grant on North Price this year and improvements to connect the northeast quadrant, which is Arrowhead Park, Fairlight Downs, and the Industrial Park to Olive Boulevard. So we're asking for a grant in two pieces, and that's a CMAQ, Surface Mitigation Air Quality Grant. And that'll be to improve the north side of Price Road between by CVS, and also the improvement from Dealman Industrial connecting to Olive by US Bank, I think it is, their building right there. So we're coordinating that with MoDOT right now to get all the parameters formed for a grant application. As since it adjoins a MoDOT right away, we need, you know, a lot of participation on their part to go through the approval process, letters of support, et cetera. So, you know, those are other projects we're working on as well. We've been really happy this year or past couple of years to get money from MSD for stormwater that we're working with through an OMCI grant opportunity, which is a tax that they were approved for by voters to collect stormwater fees that gets redistributed back to municipalities based on their watershed area and population. So that's giving us a funding source for stormwater analysis that we've never had before within, you know, typical city budgets. So there's a lot of different pieces moving around with what we do. Yes, thank you. Yeah, and incidentally, we have a new assistant chief major. This is coming to you now for leaf collection. Just a second. Yeah, so Public Works manages leaf collection, and it is my favorite time of year. Yeah. So we really do try to push out the guidelines. It's a very laborious and difficult process. And the key for everybody to remember is we have to start with a schedule, right? But we can't control the weather events. We can't control when the leaves fall. You know, if they're not on the ground, we can't pick them up. So we don't know how long it's going to take. We do it under contract, and the contractor works with other agencies too. So if it falls more in Frontenac before us, then, you know, he's running behind in tracking, but we do our best to put out notices and to maintain the schedule. No, it's the same contractor. We put the project out to bid for multi-year contracts, and we've only had one response. We are a mid-sized community, and there aren't a lot of vendors who can fit our market size. If we were a little bit smaller, we might have more response. If we were bigger, we might have response from bigger players, but we just haven't had a lot of interest in our area. It is, like I said, it's a big investment in equipment. It's a difficult process. You know, a couple of the biggest things we do is, you know, really ask is maintain your piles. Don't put them all the way out into the roadway. I see that a lot where they bring in a contractor and the pile extends into the street, you know, 8 or 10 feet, and then cars are going around. And then monitor children. Don't let them play in the piles. There was a tragedy years ago with a big truck and some kids. And so we really don't want anybody playing in the piles out there. Yes.
requirement for them to put a sidewalk on Alice. Which side, north or south? That's gonna impact your building.
So part of the requirements of the development plan was to include a public right of way adjacent to their property. Additionally, we required them to construct a sidewalk east to Hilltop. And then the city is going to construct a sidewalk from their parcel by the front of Public Works to the sidewalk that exists now along North Price. When we redid about a year ago in anticipation of this project, we constructed a new apron, we put in new curb, and we did a lot of work in advance at the Public Works parcel to make sure the sidewalk aligns and meets all ADA compliance to connect over. Oh, yeah, that was the old water meter. Right, when they built the building in 1973, the profile of Alice was different. It actually used to be a terminal road, and then it got connected, and the grade was to. Yep, that was where the water pit, meter pit was. Yep. Yeah.
Compliments on the repaving of Dealman Road in the Olivet section, and I was told that Ladue had to conform with the same confirmation, go all the way to Ladue Road. Do you know if that's going through or not?
I don't know whether they were required to, but I know they did, or they have planned to. So they have an STP grant as well. They structured theirs a little bit differently than we did. I haven't had a status update in a while, but I think they're programmed to go out to bid in 2023. And I haven't seen their plans recently to know how it will align with our sidewalks, but I'm sure that they'll have a connection.
Do you have time for one more question? Otherwise, okay, hold on one second.
Don't know if this falls into Public Works or not, but how long can a citizen leave a mobile storage pod out before they need a building permit?
Is a fantastic question for someone else. I don't know, but we can find out. I don't know if we have a regulation on it, or it would be probably fall under some sort of temporary construction.
So you can share it with him afterwards. Oh. Do we want to go there? Okay.
Carlos said that Carlos's answer to me was that they have a permit, and the permit's been renewed, I don't know, maybe twice. It's been there since the pandemic started almost. He told me that they have the permit was issued because they were doing a basement remodel. They were reconstructing their basement. I can tell you what I've seen there. I've seen no action. I've seen the thing open on the weekends, people driving up with trucks, loading stuff in and taking stuff out of the trailer. I think we need to get something done about it. Inspect whether they're doing their work or not doing their work.
Well, this has been a great morning, and I really appreciate seeing so many faces and new participants, but also Bruce, you have so much information. And when I referred to our talk at the last one, when I announced it, I said there's more to Public Works and snow plowing, and I think we covered a lot of the depth and breadth of what you do with Public Works, and we are grateful that you took the time this morning and everyone else took the time. I have a few brief announcements. And then I want to touch upon one other comment. And coming up tomorrow evening at Stacy Park from 4 to 7 is our big Olivet clean out. So if you have stuff to shred, if you have medicines that you need to dispose of, if you have electronics, it usually costs money to get rid of some of those big TVs and some of the electronics or terminals. This grant helps cover that cost this year. So 4 to 7 tomorrow, and they will be there till 7. That was promised because of people that work in schedules.
Where is that located?
It's gonna be at Stacy Park.
Over here.
Check you out, like. Our next big event following this week is a week from Friday, no, a week from Saturday is our Harvest Festival on October 22nd. So it's 22. And come in costume. And I believe the city council will be there. I think we've done costume judging before, but the Parks Commission's involved. And it's also going to be your last time, if you're interested, to going into the community center, because after that, it's going to be getting closed. And then all the things we need to do to get the asbestos out, I blinked on the word, abatement, and then it's going to be demolished. So if you want to, ride on the wall. No, I'm kidding. We're not riding on walls. We might make a farewell wall. You never know, for the ghosts and goblins that come out for Halloween. But we are going to have a great evening for Harvest Fest. And if you want, come in costume. If not, just come and enjoy. And then the other piece that I was bringing up was fall leaf curbside collection, but I think we covered that. And there's signs in it. There'll be signs around the community as in past years of which quadrants are cleaned and done at which time. And then, of course, winding up at the end of November is Turkey Trot. And if you haven't had a chance to sign up in the past, please do so. You can run, you can walk, or you can do what Susan's done every year, which is stand on the front yard and cheer us on. But I've always chosen to walk. I start at the front and end at the rear because it's just not walking, but you get to schmooze along the way and visit with people. So it's a great day. And we're hoping to see about close to 2,000 people this year, about 1,800 people. Oh, and we always can use volunteers to help with orientation, stuffing bags, and there's a volunteer meeting coming up. So if you're interested in volunteering for Turkey Trot, contact Barb. Who should they contact? Contact Barb Sondag at Olivet. So Barb at olivetmo.com. B Sondag. So sorry about that. And I wanted to point out one other thing, and I think this is really a compliment to the collegiality that Bruce referred to, is that joining us this morning when he talks about how he enjoys working with his colleagues. We have members of the fire department. We have people from the Parks and Rec Commission. We have Tanya, who he picked on a little bit, but you could really think it was a shout out from the accounting department, and Darren, our fiscal manager. And so, well, I said Parks and Rec. We have Beverly Tucker Knight from Parks and Rec. She's the director, and Don, who's the assistant director. I wasn't getting into names, and our city manager, and Dawn, who's been playing the host of the Zoom. And we hope we gave everyone a nice commercial in the middle if you go back and watch this. And from the fire department as well with Bridget. So thank you, everybody, so very much. And stay and have a donut or some grapes. Oh, one more thing. I always like to announce who's coming up next month. So if you stop the Zoom, that's okay. Next month is going to be Keisha Lee, who is the president of the Ladue School Board. She's also an Olivet resident, and she also sits on the Parks and Rec Commission, but she's coming with her Ladue School Board hat as president, and we'll share some of the things that we do collaboratively and some of the things going on in the district that you might not be aware of. So thanks again for joining us this morning. That is Wednesday, November 9th. Oh, and the fall leaf collection dates are also on the website. Everything that I announced is on the website. And I forgot to mention the amazing Kiana Fleming, who's our communication director, but she also coordinates coffee with the mayor with me. So thank you.